and in this video I just want to talk about denormalizing toxic behavior. Now, what does that mean? Well, to me, I feel like, and this kind of has to do with my subconscious suicide video, but I feel like we have normalized so many bad behaviors because they've gone on through many generations. And that's when I think of a generational curse, I think of that bad behavior and toxic traits that's being passed down from generations to generation, and no one is unlearning them. That's what I personally view as a generational curse. So, and that's where the denormalizing the toxic behavior come in. Now in the last couple of years, especially since the Me Too movement and stuff, we're having a lot of different conversations in the last, I'm gonna look up when that started, but it's very recent. And we're having a lot of these conversations in the last, I'll say maybe 10 years. And these things have been going on for hundreds of years. It's hundreds of years of, certain events that I don't even want to say because trigger warning, anything could set someone off. But it's hundreds of years of these horrible things, these toxic things that, have been going on, and we just look at it as normal. So consciously, you look at it as normal because it's normalized. It's like, a lot of us are having this conversation now recently about, when we were in high school, it's like this older dude coming to pick up this young girl. And this is something you can see in a lot of movies. You can see it common across pop culture or whatever it might be, because it's normalized.
That's what I love about high school girls. I keep getting older, they stay the same age. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But in reality, if you saw a 40-year-old or 33, 25, 28 with a 13, 14, 15-year-old, in reality, you would say that's crazy as hell. But because it's wrong. But even if consciously the people in those moments didn't know it was wrong, subconsciously on the inside you're gonna know it's wrong because it's not okay. So there's a lot of situations like that. Even when I think back to sometimes when people are just telling stories, or we're going down memory lane of some of the things that we've seen, and it's like, what's going on? I remember my cousins, and they're telling me stories of going to the high school I went to, and then yeah, man, it was bad. And I remember going to school, and if I wasn't wearing a leather jacket, I would have got stabbed in my ribs with my leather jacket protecting me, and we was fighting and stuff every day. And it's like, when you a kid, you hearing those stories, and that's just life, because I'm probably going to an elementary or middle school. That's just the elementary or middle school or whatever, is going on at that high school. And, you live in an area where these things go on, so you just know, oh, this is just normal. But now you take a step, I take a step out of there, I could look through a different view or whatever, and I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking back, why is a 15 or a 16-year-old going to school and then stabbing and getting stabbed, and his leather jacket being what protected him? What kind of crazy ass story is this? This is wild. Where are your parents? Where's the police? Where's the teachers? How is this going on? When I was in high school, there was a lot of stuff happening like that. And those are examples of, things you just normalize. Even when you're not involved in a fight or a situation like that. And, when we used to have certain family and friends days and stuff like that, and someone gets shot or they get stabbed, and you see it so much that it's just oh, it's normal. But keep in mind, when people go to war and they see people get shot and stabbed, they have lifelong PTSD. They could be at war and just see one person get shot in the arm one time, and that'd be it, and nobody would marginalize their PTSD. Yet these are things that some of us have been seeing our whole life, whether it be all the way from inside of the house to outside of the house. It doesn't matter. We're seeing it everywhere, and it's just oh, this is normal. But you could be walking around with severe PTSD because of that, and it shows itself and manifests in many different ways. It's everywhere you go, you did when they talk about you got the jack boys and the robbers and stuff. When you have to deal with that in your neighborhood, that can make you a naturally defensive person. If you're always having to worry about being attacked or always got to keep your guard up and stuff, what are you doing? You're putting up a shield. So after a while, that can make you a defensive person. And that's happening just subconsciously. So now, even when you're far removed from that and you're off in the world, you're just defensive. like, and it just comes out. You don't know why. And it goes back to, oh, I'm from the hood, man. There was robbers and killers in my neighborhood. And people wear that like it's a badge of honor, not even realizing the harm it does to them on the inside. Not because, again, it's just normalized behavior. Another example, I remember for a long time when I was like a little younger, I used to think that if you weren't in a relationship and you were just arguing and fighting 24/7, that something was wrong. Like, I felt like the ideal, quote unquote, married, happy couple was like two people always bickering. Because I have early memories from, like, maybe being 3 or 2 or 4, whatever age I am, like being in Jamaica, and my grandma and my grandpa, like, just going back and forth for long periods of time, growing up in houses where it's always fighting, it's always arguing, nobody handling situations with proper communication. And then it's not just at your house, it's at your friend's house, it's at your neighbor's house, it's at your cousin's house, it's at your god sister's house, it's at like nobody, you're not going anywhere where things are, no one's going to be perfect where we're handling things in healthy ways. We're dealing with a lot of unhealthy behaviors. And again, that goes into, repetition. You're seeing it over and over, goes into your subconscious, and things can start to manifest in other ways. That used to make me, it's still something I deal with, because just from seeing that, it makes me like not want to be in certain scenarios, to not repeat the behavior, because I still ultimately don't really know what healthy, looks like. I still don't really know. So that's what I mean by like denormalizing toxic behavior. A lot of these things that we just do, or even another one, it could be as simple as the way that we're talked to. It could be as simple as the way that we're talked to. I remember like the other day I was at the store, and I was at the Jamaican store, and I was like grabbing Aki, and the woman, she was on the phone. She was with her daughter, like her daughter's hair was out, and she was talking about how she had to go do it. And what she was saying, she was like, she's speaking in the accent. She's like, I gotta go do this rough-head girl, like I gotta go do her nappy ass hair. And even if in her mind she consciously is saying like, or she just joking, or she thinks she's just playing fun, you hear that over and over, it can make you develop something that makes you hate your hair. And it could just be something your mom was saying. It's like, or every time you go to get your hair done, it could be giving you some sort of anxiety or something, because you're waiting to hear how you're the rough head girl, like how your mom used to say. And those are the little things that we don't really, pay attention to, because it's just normal to be screamed on. It's normal to be cussed at, because that's the way our parents talk to them, or with the blanket term that everyone just says, oh, slavery. It's normal. It's not the fault, because slavery, you can just beat the shit out your kid. Slavery, it's just like the Band-Aid for everything. Oh, don't worry about it, slavery. So, yeah, that we have to, I forgot what I was calling it, but we have to realize that these behaviors are not normal, and that'll be one of the first steps to start to deal with some of the things that's going on subconsciously that you're not even aware of. When you start to sit back and be like, wow, so you telling me when I was in 6th grade and he had a gun, let me not say his name. When I was in 6th grade and little such and such had a gun, and big this and that was selling drugs, and we was only like 11 and 12, that's not normal? That's kind of crazy? Wow. That's not okay. And you can start to deal with that. Because I have to do that type of stuff all the time. Start being like, wow, that's not normal at all. Something's wrong with that. And I can't explain it in the right words, but it's kind of like a release, because there's things that we know that happen consciously. Like somebody could have smacked the shit out of you, and you remember that. You remember, I don't want somebody to smack the shit out of me again. But it's these things that we've normalized. But it's these things that we've normalized that are manifesting in our life in different ways that we can't see. You know, I'm telling you, you could be real defensive about your hair. You could be real sensitive about your hair, and it's just from being the girl in that scenario, and you never realized it. Or you could be real defensive, or you could be real timid, or you could be. It's a lot of things that could shape your personality that you don't realize, and it could just be starting off with how we're talked to. You know, communication is definitely not something that we were. I would say in my what I've seen and what I've spoken to different people who've dealt with similar things, like the way that we communicate. And I don't like to just say you put the blame on your parents, because again, it's generations of bad behavior, but it's definitely not okay, and that's part of the problem. It's just we just normalized it. We just use all these excuses, and no one really takes accountability. But once you start to denormalize these behaviors, it will help you on getting to the root of why you do the things that you do. So yep, I think I'm just gonna end it there. Peace and blessings to anyone watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you have any video suggestions. Peace.